Hey, and welcome back to another episode of ChatterBeans. This week's conversation is a quieter one, but no less powerful. I'm joined by Tim Barnden, an immigration lawyer with a deep love for music, radio, and really thoughtful conversation. We talk about anxiety, not just personal anxiety, but the kind that hangs in the air at the moment, shaped by politics, social change, and the stories we consume every day. We also get into identity, coming out, workplace culture, and why nuance feels more important than ever. So grab a coffee, take a breath, and settle in. This is a conversation about staying connected to who you are, even when the world feels a little bit overwhelming. Tim,
Hi.
welcome to ChatterBeans.
It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. How
Yeah.
are you?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a bit it's a strange time at the moment in the world. So I'm feeling slightly anxious. I feel like I've got a slight default position of anxiety at the moment, but I'm generally winning through.
You are?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's set the scene. So we're recording this late September. By the time this goes out, it'll be a bit later. So maybe that will help in terms of where we're at. What's causing you anxiety? Let's start there.
Yeah. Let's get that out of the way, shall we?
Yeah.
So I suppose the state of the nation and the state of the world, actually. I mean, just on
Yeah.
my way here, I'm just reading reports about, Russian jets over Estonia. And so that's not great. But I think more just what's going on in the UK just feels very unsettling. So I'm a bit older. So I'm 61 this year. I am 61 now.
You do not look 61.
I know.
Good for you.
Yeah. So I do remember I was kind of brought up on sort of why racism is really bad. And like when I was at school, my sister joined me to this thing called School Kids Against Nazis. And it was late 70s, early 80s. It was full on then. There was a lot going on. There were like skinheads marching in the street and all the rest of it. And it kind of got seen off in many ways. And it just suddenly, it feels like it's crept up on us. Like suddenly, huge marches of people wrapped in flags, flying from lampposts in random places, but just I think the kind of drip of sort of discourse in the news and all the rest of it. Plus, my job is I'm an immigration lawyer, so
How interesting.
I don't do that. I don't work with asylum seekers. I kind of do private immigration work, but it means that the general work context is I'm hyper aware of, that my profession is seen as part of the problem.
Yeah.
So I guess all those things added together means that I find myself waking up feeling a bit anxious in the morning at the moment.
Yeah, you can't escape it.
No. It
Yeah.
just doesn't stop.
I mean, I agree. I mean, these flags, I don't even know if people know why they're wearing the flag or why they're marching.
Yeah.
And I had this conversation with many people over the last few weeks. Like, you could ask a handful of people that went on that march, why are you there? And I think they'd all give you a different answer. And I just find it disappointing.
And it's a bit surreal. I mean,
It is surreal, yeah.
I read this piece about I don't know what it was on BBC. I read this piece, interviews with people who had been on the march, and there was this couple who run a pub in South Wales, and what they were going on about was it's all about free speech. It's all about free speech. That's why they went on the march, and they were prepared to kind of suggest or accept that maybe aspects of what is said on the march wasn't that great, but nonetheless free speech is really, really important. But they run this pub in South Wales, and she was saying, and it's really we really believe in free speech. Like, we've really tried to modernize our pub. We have a gay night now. And I was like, it was that segue from like, we're going to go on a free speech march led by Tommy Robinson, and Katie Hopkins and Lawrence Fox are going to be on the platform, and Elon Musk is going to appear and is going to declare war on the UK.
Literally.
And these guys come from a pub in South Wales where they have a gay night. I'm like, what is going on? It makes me feel really like slightly disorientated. That's how I feel at the moment. Maybe more disorientated than anxious. I just don't completely feel like I've got a grip on the world.
Yeah, and I think I'm with you. And it's really bothered me in the last week to the point where I've openly talked about it before. I see a therapist every week about all sorts of issues, and for the first time, this came into it. Because it's causing me a lot of anxiety. My husband is from Hong Kong. He's lived here 8 years, and we're getting abused on at the station.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, my husband's mixed race, and we were talking about this he was dropping me off at the station on my way here, and he was we live down in the countryside, and he was I was kind of telling him the story about a friend's son's girlfriend who had been abused in the street and all the rest of it, and he said, yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
And if it's scary for me as a middle class white guy, then to be sort of mixed Afro-Indian descent and to be walking the streets of East Sussex, it's kind of I don't even, I can imagine how that feels, but I don't know how that feels. I'm sure it's the same for you and your husband. It's
Totally,
like,
yeah. I mean, he said to me, he's like, wow, it's really bothering you, isn't it? It's like, how do you think I feel? I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So work then, immigration lawyer. Have you done that your whole career?
More or less, yeah. I had a slow start to the world of work. I didn't quite know. I thought I was going to be a journalist, but that was never going to happen. I didn't even
Really?
get into journalism school. And then I thought I would be a campaigner, and that didn't work out very well. I got a job with a human rights organisation as a fundraiser, and
Interesting.
was really bad at raising funds, so that didn't really work out. I organised a sponsored swim to which 2 people turned up.
Oh no!
And then I just stumbled into the law, basically. But initially doing criminal work for back in the day, we're talking the late 80s, when you didn't really need any qualifications to go off to police stations. You just needed somebody who'd pay you to go. And so off I went to police stations and prisons, and I kind of thought, oh yeah, I quite like this. I could do this.
Yeah.
And then the immigration bit came along a little bit later, just because a bunch of us who'd been at college together were working from firms actually in Tottenham. And that's where I got my training, a firm on Tottenham High Road. And it was either going to be immigration or mental health. But I did do a bit of mental health work, so that's like representing people who are detained in hospital. That was interesting work, but challenging.
Yeah.
But I moved more into immigration. But I started off doing the asylum work, refugee work, and did that for probably about 5 or 10 years, and then I've moved more over into sort of personal work, so working with couples and families and kids and kind of human rights, but in a sort of private law kind of context. And that's seen me all the way through.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm at the point now starting to think about winding it down, really,
Yeah, interesting time of life, I suppose, with so much uncertainty going on. But how do you, I guess, stay focused, and what are your plans for the future?
So I'm very lucky because I work at a firm where they do quite a lot in the way of sort of like late career planning and all that. So I've been given coaching if I want it.
That's
so
amazing.
Things I'm working on are fairly adjacent to this, because we met at a radio and podcasting course.
We did, with David Spencer,
Indeed,
the media mentor.
And there's more coming up, isn't there? So radio, I have a radio show on Totally Wild Radio, which is very much a hobby, but grew out of something that we did. A bunch of friends did during lockdown. A friend set up a radio station, an online radio station during lockdown.
Yeah.
Sort of radio for mates, really. So that's one thing that I'm really trying to focus on. And that's just me sort of just, living out my John Peel fantasy, basically.
Yeah.
Playing records and chatting. And the other things I'm thinking about are, so this is going to be a bit niche, but basically mediation. So I do quite a lot of work, which is the crossover with immigration and family law. So basically, it sounds a bit ambulance chasey, but where couples split up, somebody's got an immigration issue within the couple who are splitting up, they need advice as to how they can secure their status moving forward. So I get involved with that. Or it might involve their children. How do they secure the interests of their children if one of them is from overseas? But in the middle of all of that, in family law, mediation is like everybody's been pushed into mediation. That's what you do now, is you have to go to mediation more or less. So I'm thinking of developing some kind of interest in providing immigration expertise in the context of family mediations, because I could probably do that sort of part-time. So that's second thought.
Yeah.
And then the other one really is just kind of getting ready to move and leave the countryside and move to Bristol and get back into urban life and reconnect with old friends and just sort of, kind of have some fun, basically.
Is that where you started, in Bristol? Or have you spent a
No,
period of time there?
I went there for a couple of years at the end of the 80s. Um, why did I go there? Well, basically, you can have the long version or short version. So I was living in London, living in Tottenham actually, and my flatmate was moving away, so I was a bit of a loose end, and I was going down to Bristol quite a lot because I had these really close friends who I knew from being active in the Communist Party. And I would go down and stay with them. And basically, Bristol was just great. And it was 1988. So it was when Acid House was really kicking off. So there were lots of parties up on the Downs in Bristol. And that whole scene was really vibrant. It was Massive Attack. There was really amazing music scene and just a really friendly vibe. And I just spent 2 years down there. And then I met somebody in London and came back. So it was 2 years. But I actually made friends then who have kind of the core of my friendship group still.
Really? And
Yeah.
stuck with you?
Yeah,
That's
totally.
amazing.
Yeah. Friends from college, but then the friends I made in Bristol, I could not imagine my life now if I hadn't spent those 2 years down there.
Wow. And they're still there?
Some of them are.
Yeah.
And then others have moved down to join them.
I think it's such a great place.
I think it's going to be a bit. When I left, like all those years ago in 1990 or 1991, I can't even remember when it was. It was like it
That's
felt.
when I was born.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
And I don't feel young anymore.
Oh, come on, you're a whippersnapper.
34, I mean, come on.
Bloody hell. I mean, it was. Yeah, it was. They were quite 2 intense years. But you know what it's like when you're really young. Kind of time kind of stretches, doesn't it? So it felt like an age that I lived there.
Yeah.
To go back feels slightly strange.
I bet.
The city has, like all cities, changed in some ways, but in other ways, it's exactly the same. It's still the same Bristol.
Yeah.
It's not nirvana. I mean, there's lots of problems in Bristol, and I mean, it'll be a shock to go. We live in the middle of rural East Sussex.
Do you?
I live, my garden is an acre. There are like buzzards in the sky. And it's just the middle of nowhere. To go from that to getting a house in a city with a little tiny garden is going to be a bit of a shock to the system. So I think that in itself is a big enough project to see me through.
What's the drive to go to Bristol then? What's the main drive?
God. There are different things. On a sort of really practical but emotional level, I was watching my parents leaving it too late to leave. They lived in the countryside. That's where we all grew up. They left it too late to move, which was really. And then my mum, who's no longer with them, neither of them with us any longer, but she moved. But she just always hankered to go back because she left it so late in life. And I think if they'd gone somewhere else a bit sooner, so we don't want to leave it too late. I'll be honest with you, living in the middle of nowhere where you have to drive everywhere. It would be good to be able to walk to a shop or a cinema or a theatre or a mate's house.
Yeah, just go out for a drink and walk back or
exactly. So there's quite a lot, but obviously one option was maybe to move to London, but it's it's a bit pricey, London, and also I just felt like I lived in London for like 25 years, so it feels like Bristol feels like a better pull, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I speak about this a lot. I don't know what pull London has anymore.
Do you know?
I really don't. It's so expensive. It's tiring. You might disagree.
It is. No, I mean, and there's all that stuff about London is over, but I kind of think we shouldn't overstate that because the counterpoint to all that stuff going on last weekend is actually that London is still an amazing, complicated, vibrant place. It's just that it's been a little bit hollowed out by money, I think, and so it's become more and more difficult for people without lots of money to stay living in sort of central London or even in the sort of the sort of outer inner, like Hackney and all the rest of it, which is why places like near where I live, down in like St Leonard's and Hastings, it's full of people who've just abandoned London to move down there.
Yeah, there was a big shift after COVID, wasn't there?
So there is a bit of a hollowing out.
I think it's things like, I think back to I moved here 12 years ago, literally 12 years ago next week, I think. Like the gay scene in London, I came out shortly after moving to London, like a year after, and I had the best few years. But now it's just like you go to Soho and I feel like it's not really Soho anymore. Old Compton Street, there's barely any gay bars. There's barely any.
Yeah.
I don't know, some of that gay scene that I maybe it's just life moves on and it changes, but
But it's there, isn't it? I think it's there, but it's just maybe it's gone more. It goes more niche. I mean, God, I have not. I haven't been to a gay club in a very long time. I'm not a clubber anymore.
No.
Although I'm going to a 60th birthday party tonight and I will dance. But
Is it at a house?
it's in a house, in a big house in Streatham, so it'll be nice. And he's a DJ, so it'll be a fun party.
That'd be cool.
But it's there. So I follow. On Instagram, for example, I follow. Have you come across Princess Julia? So Princess Julia, she's a bit of an icon from she was at the Blitz Club in 1979-80. I mean, she has been reputedly has been out every night since 1980. She has hilarious sort of manner. She's got a very strong North London accent. She's kind of, her current iteration is, I suppose, fashion glamour goth.
Okay.
I mean, she must be well into her 60s, I would say. I would imagine she's well into her 60s. She goes out all the time, always posting on Instagram some new bar, new event, new club. What I am given to understand that is goth is where the gay scene is. Suddenly there's all these kind of crazy goth nights and kind of goth fetish sort of crossover.
Interesting.
I think that's where the youth are going.
I'll check it out.
I think not designed for superannuated, slightly overweight queens.
Can we talk about your
outfit problems?
Can we talk about coming out and like when you realised what year, like how was it for you at that time? I suppose, when was it?
So properly coming out was my first year of university, but I was clearly aware.
Were you?
Before, yeah. I mean, I was aware, to be honest, as a child, I was aware, I think, that I was...
I think most people are.
Yeah, totally. And I remember, fancying boys.
Really?
Or fancying older teenagers or whatever.
Yeah.
But coming out proper was... So after school, I went off to Israel and went to a kibbutz and then met my first proper girlfriend, called Diana. Diana, if you're listening, I'm very much Diana Douglas.
Diana Douglas.
And we had a brilliant time. And we did we hitchhike? We ended up in Greece on boats and all the rest of it.
Wow.
So she was my first proper girlfriend. She was much older than me. And then, so I thought, maybe I'm bisexual. I kind of already knew that maybe that was the terminology. And then in my first year at university, I had a girlfriend, and I just knew this is not working. But also at the same time, at uni, I very quickly fell in with the sort of leftist crowd. There was a magazine that I was involved in called The Heckler.
Yeah.
And I used to be involved in printing up The Heckler. And there were like there was some pretty militant, like gay liberation front types.
Right.
There was a guy called Colin who used to knit in editorial meetings and had orange hair. And he was kind of like, he was like a Marxist version of Quentin Crisp, basically. He was quite full on. And so I was kind of getting a lot of this ideology.
Yeah.
And I was involved in the student politics and all the rest of it. And then it was just like, suddenly the penny was dropping. I was like, Tim, you're gay. You're gay. And because I had this kind of political scene around me, it was actually quite easy to go, yeah, I'm gay. And so suddenly it was like, I was wearing pink triangle badges and, all the rest of it. So the coming out process, in a way, initially was the politics really helped get me out of the closet and support me. And the friendships around then, student friendships, it was a really kind of supportive environment to come out in.
Yeah.
There are, of course, lots of other stages like family and then there were some bits of retreating back into the closet.
Were there?
Through work, because of work, I think.
That's a really interesting point because, and I really want to hear about it. I have the same stories actually, where at work you're kind of a completely different character, and I had to kind of hold it back in. Is that because of the type of work you were doing?
It was very early on, and I took a sort of decision. So basically, when I first moved to Bristol, I was doing some work for criminal law firms down there, doing this clerking work where I'd go to police stations and stuff. And the firm that I started working in, which was in quite a sort of rough estate on the outskirts of Bristol, the office culture I almost immediately sensed how homophobic it was. And although I was working there with a friend who knew I was gay, I kind of just didn't know how to handle it. It was
No.
something I'd not experienced, and I didn't feel ready to challenge it.
Yeah.
And I worked there for about 8 or 9 months, and I did challenge it in the end. I got to the
Did
end
you?
of my tether with it, and I thought, I'm leaving this place. But I then had it out with this kind of group of women, actually, and who were being really homophobic. They didn't know I was gay. And I just said, by the way, just need to tell you I'm gay. And they were like, it's like a massive double take. They go, what? They were just completely phased. And then they were like, oh, so sorry, blah, blah, blah. So it was a little bit of an education moment. And then I sort of vowed that I would never do that again. I would
Yeah.
never, because a year before I'd been doing student politics, standing on platforms in front
Exactly.
of 500 students, sort of, declaring gay liberation, basically. So to
Yeah.
go from that into kind of working in a little office in Southmead and having to listen to loads of homophobic nonsense was tough. So I vowed never to do that again.
So what did you change? Just be honest if someone talked about it,
just
or
be
just
upfront.
Just be upfront.
Just make sure that it's understood.
Because I think that's the big challenge, and I imagine it's still a challenge now, particularly when you've got young guys, girls, whoever they are, like in their sexuality. But when you're starting in an organization, perhaps if you're an apprentice or you're doing an internship, I think people don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to bring themselves forward almost, and so then they end up hiding things, and I just find it so sad.
Well, I really see it. So at work we do. So the other bit of the other bow that I didn't talk about is I'm quite heavily involved in driving the diversity and inclusion work. So I'm the partner at my workplace responsible for DEI, which I work alongside our HR function, and so we have various employee resource groups, whatever you want to call them, networks within the firm, and one of which that I'm an ambassador for is the sort of LGBT plus group, and it's quite interesting to me how we've almost noticed a little bit of a drop off of engagement, and I feel that maybe that isn't all wrong. No, wrong is the wrong word, or totally negative. I feel like there's been a bit of a shift in working culture. And we've talked about this before, but there's very much been this thing about bring your whole self to work.
Yeah.
And which I think is a valuable sort of observation as to sort of how to keep yourself relatively mentally healthy. But actually, do you really want to take your whole self to work? Do you want to keep some boundaries? Do you want to silo bits of your work from your personal life so that you've got some sanity? And I feel like some of the younger cohort at work they're quite cool with the idea that we've got this LGBT plus network, but they don't really want to. They just want to come in. They want to work hard.
Yeah.
They want to build their career. They want to earn money.
Yeah.
And then they go off at the weekend and do what they like.
Yeah.
And I feel that there's you can't demand that people are out at work.
No.
Even though I find it slightly frustrating that they're not as out as I'd quite like them to be. But
I agree. I think there used to be it's all about bringing yourself to work, everything, feel comfortable, everything like that. But some people just want to do the work and go and have their own friends separately. And I think depending on the industry, it's really, really difficult, right? Oscars does theatre. And I think that environment particularly, there's no separation.
Yeah.
And I can see how exhausting that gets, where you spend your whole day at work with them doing the same show. Then you want to all go out for drinks. Then everyone knows everything about each other. It doesn't really happen that much anymore in most workplaces.
Yeah, I've worked. So where I work now is about 200 or 300 people. So it's relatively, that's small to medium for a sort of city type firm. But I've worked in a place before. I have to be a little bit careful. I've worked in a place before which was brilliant.
Yeah.
But it's much smaller. And those lines were much more blurred. It was a bit like working in a sort of crazy family.
Right, yeah.
And that can be a bit exhausting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a tricky one, because I think it would be a shame if we end up with a working culture where people don't feel like they can be themselves. That would be obviously not inclusive and not be fostering diversity. But at the same time, it's also fine for people to say, that's great, but not for me.
Yeah.
It's sort of, and people like me have to be respectful of the decisions that other people make, I think, like that, which is kind of...
Yeah, I agree.
I think the other thing is also what happens is that for some people who tick boxes, it's exhausting because everybody goes, oh, well, they'll do it.
Yeah.
turn to them. They're non-binary. They,
Exactly.
so let's get them to do all the work.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe they don't want to.
No, exactly. They just
Yeah.
want to come in and do the work.
Yeah.
Radio.
Yeah.
So you've been doing that since COVID.
Yeah.
What is it about that? Having your own radio show, like.
Well, I think when my mate Steve set it up, and he's my producer Steve. Hi, Steve. He set it up, and it was in that first winter so at the end of 2020, and which was a bit brutal. I don't know if you remember, it was quite brutal that winter, and there were a lot of people we were literally, where we lived, we weren't allowed to leave the 10 square miles at one point. You actually couldn't go to Tesco's in that place. You had to go to Asda in that place. That's a lie. We don't have an Asda, but you know what I mean? So it was quite intense. And I think that the initial wave of enthusiasm for sort of parties on, what was that platform?
Zoom.
No, not before Zoom. There was something
no,
else.
there was one, wasn't there?
There was a terrible one, which was really insecure. And randoms would just jump into your room. What was it called? You know what I mean? Anyway, it'll come back to me in a moment. House party.
House party. Yeah.
Yeah. Carl, my husband, his 50th birthday fell just as we went into lockdown.
Really?
End of March, of 2020. So we threw a big online Zoom party for him, and we had a DJ, and we had lights, and we had like all this stuff going on. We had about 60 or 70 people.
That's
online,
incredible.
People dancing, holding up signs. It went on for ages. It went on for like 3 hours. It was really like.
Oh my God.
But I think by the winter of 2020, people were getting a little bit beleaguered.
Yeah.
So Steve set this up. We did it over Christmas and New Year. He just got together a bunch of people who said, yeah, I'd like to do that. A couple of people were proper DJs.
Okay.
So they were the kind of royalty. They knew what to do. But the rest of us, like laptop, install this mix software thing, given a few little practices. He had it all set up. We used to do rehearsals. And took it from there, really.
Yeah.
It had a slightly unfortunate name. It was called it wasn't unfortunate. It was called OCD Radio, which offended a few people, but it means something which I can't repeat on air. And then he ran it for a couple of years, and it was really good. I guess it's in a way pure ego.
Yeah.
It's like, I am Captain T, that's my DJ name. I am Captain T, and I am going to play records for 2 hours, and you're going to listen to them.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're not going to listen to them, and maybe nobody's going to listen.
But you enjoyed it.
And I'm going to chat about it, just like proper radio DJs do. Yeah. But it was a kind of fantasy, It was like a fantasy fun thing. And then when that finished, I really missed it.
Did you?
And I started doing things on Mixcloud, like doing my own sort of, my own radio show that I would just put up on Mixcloud. Which I was quite surprised by the fact that I was doing it, but I realised I was actually really enjoying it. It was fulfilling some kind of need. It was still kind of post-pandemic then. And then this proper DJ guy, Alan, who is involved in Totally Wild Radio, he said, just do it. Put a show together, pitch to Totally Wild Radio. And they said, yeah, okay. And they gave me a show. So,
that's amazing.
I do love it.
Had you always wanted to do radio or play music or chatting?
I've always been obsessed with music, and I was always the person, like, in the 90s or the 80s, I'd always be the person who turned up at parties with a cassette and be like, put my cassette on. So, like, I've got some music, I want to put it on.
I love it.
And it was always there'd always be something that was slightly off key that didn't work. There'd be some track that people were like, what the fuck? Sorry, I can't say that word.
Fine.
What the hell is that you just played? And then I would DJ as well. So I loved the idea of being a DJ. So I would DJ parties and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Badly. As in, I cannot mix.
Really?
I can't mix. And even on the radio now, I can't. I mean, I can put spoken word over something and make it sound maybe vaguely cool, but I can't beat mix at all. So I was kind of notorious, I think, for playing parties where I would do some terrible mix, crash it really badly, clear the dance floor.
Love it.
Had a little nightclub in Cambridge in the 80s.
Did you?
For about 4 or 5 nights with my friend Oliver, who sadly left us this year, called Disco Tac. That was a lot of fun. So I've always,
This has always been there.
So radio is a way of, I think now, at a more mature age, being able to kind of bring it into focus. But what I'm finding is, and Steve said this to me the other day, my producer, he said, we were talking about having something to say
Yeah.
rather than just having a cute playlist. Because basically you can just play 2 hours of music and it's a cute playlist.
Yeah.
But if you've got something to say, and I feel like however wonky and random it is, I have got things to say, usually about the music, but maybe about what the music means to me or where it comes from or cultural stuff or...
Well, I think people buy into that more. And I think I had a chance at live radio recently, and as much as I can just play the music I like, there is a difference between playing music you like and actually loving the music you're playing and knowing about it, knowing the artist, the history of the artist. Because you've interviewed artists, right?
I have. I'm not very consistent, and I must do better, basically. So I did a few little batch of interviews at the beginning of the year, not very professionally done, like on a phone sort of thing. So the quality was not great. I did one in the Barbican, it was so echoey, and did one in a cafe in St Leonard's with Sue Tilley, who's the biographer of Lee Barry. So it was all just before the big Barry show at Tate Modern. And you could hear the seagulls in the background and a kid crying and stuff. It was all a bit wonky. So I just feel like I'm now getting ready to, because I want to keep doing it, to just professionalize a bit and get into a studio hopefully and learn the craft a bit more.
Yeah.
But without it becoming dull and dry.
This is it. It's finding the balance, isn't it?
Yeah, I still want to do the interviews with the Sue Tillys of the world with seagulls in the background, but just maybe with a slightly better production value.
I'll show you the mics that I've got in the bit.
It's great sitting in here. I love it. So I think it's definitely, I'm going to stick with it. I really like it. Also, the other thing is, it's making me for it to be fun and interesting. I do listen to quite a lot of new music, so I make myself. I'm not just playing like loads of 80s. I mean, I could just play the Human League and Soft Cell and everything, but that would be a bit dull because we all know those records. Well, my generation does. So I'm trying to expose myself to new music, go out and find new music. I'm always reading the reviews in the papers at the weekend to see what's out and what's interesting. Go and find it. Some of it's terrible, some of it's brilliant. And always sort of try and keep it developing. Yeah,
I can really see that passion.
I have little obsessions. Like Latin music is
really?
a bit of an obsession. Bad Bunny, he's so hot. But also it's just like kind of his music is so like, nobody talks about Bad Bunny. They should do. It's really good.
Some good music.
Yeah.
Definitely. So in amongst your busy life and career and radio and producing your show, do you like coffee?
Of course I do. I love coffee.
Do you need it? Do you find you need it to get
Do I need
through
it right now?
Not right now.
No, I just had one just before I got here. Yes. Yeah, I did. 2 years ago, I had a bit of a... Oh, sorry, I keep it in my phone. Had a bit of a health issue, and so gave up caffeine for a while.
Did it help?
Oh my God, the withdrawal from caffeine. I don't know if you've ever tried it. It's just...
Headaches, right?
Oh, the headaches are like... And they come in the middle of the night, so it's like you get a migraine at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's
my goodness.
Really unpleasant. So
I get them if I don't have a coffee by... There's been a few times recently where I've not had it till 2 or 3 p.m. and cracking headache all of a sudden comes.
Yeah, no, I've given up giving up. So basically... we have got some packets of decaf coffee at home which sort of sit on the shelf.
Yeah.
No, I love coffee.
Yeah, what's your go-to coffee order?
A cortado.
Is it?
Yeah.
First time I think that's been the answer on this podcast.
Although it's a bit controversial, I think, because there's a lot of terrible cortados, and I sound really even the word cortado, it's got a slightly snobby edge to it. In fact, my husband came home. This was quite a few months ago and said, I had the most dreadful cortado.
Oh, God.
It's like you say the word cortado and it's like your register just immediately pushes up a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I love cortado, but there's a lot of crap cortado out there. People don't know how to make cortados.
Yeah. Have you got a go-to coffee shop? Or do you just like independent or...
So there's one in the city on Cannon Street. And there's more than one, but the one I go to is on Cannon Street, which is called Roslin.
Yes.
They're really good, quite pricey. In fact, when I was on decaf, that's how I discovered them, because their decaf cortados were stunning. They were really, really strong tasting. Yeah. Roslin, you can't sit down. Oh, you can if you sit outside, but it's very much a counter type thing. But it's quite a good place to meet that's where if I'm going to do a quick work kind of chat with somebody
That's
who I'm
nice.
trying to schmooze or whatever, meet
Yeah.
them there.
That's cool.
I guess, and then if you're talking more bog standard, there's ones am I allowed to say the ones I really hate?
Good. Yeah,
Can I slag people off?
you can.
Yeah, I really hate Starbucks.
Oh,
It
yeah.
tastes burnt.
Feel free to get in touch, Starbucks, and come in and have a
Sorry.
chat.
Your coffee tastes burnt, Starbucks.
It does. Yeah, I agree.
But no, Rosslyn. So that's my favourite.
I think again, it's really interesting, and I don't know if this is a COVID thing. I just feel like that's a point in time that I can relate to everything to. I think coffee culture has changed big time. Like these Rosslyn, Watch House.
Yes, Watch House. That is. Yeah.
I was at one.
Is that one on Fetter Lane?
I don't know if it's that next to the Sky Garden. There's quite a few
the
now.
other way over towards the Strand. That way, I think there might be
There
one
probably
there.
is. They've grown quite quickly
Yeah.
actually. Same as a lot of these more Kiss the Hippo. I don't know if you know Kiss the Hippo.
It's a great name.
It's a great name. I think they've opened. I remember when it was like 3 or 4. I think it's about 12 now. It's pricey, but the experience, you feel like you're having a proper experience rather than just shouting out the name. You know,
Yeah.
are you there? Kind of thing. You know, like making.
It's an amazing history, though, coffee, isn't it? Because then, of course, there were coffee houses like 200 or 300 years ago when coffee was a new thing.
Yeah.
And that's what people did. They didn't go to the pub and have martinis.
No.
Well, they did go to the pub, but they also went to the coffee house.
Yeah, and I feel like we're getting back to it.
Yeah.
It does feel different.
But I do love a cup of tea.
Do you?
Yeah, but at very specific times.
Which times?
First thing in the morning and then sort of about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, I like the afternoon one. I really like an evening cup of tea, particularly as we're now getting into the autumn and winter.
Yeah, I have to stop caffeine by about 5 o'clock. Otherwise, my sleep is a wreck. Yeah. Yeah.
If you could have coffee or tea with anyone, who would it be? Why? Where are you taking them?
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive?
So, I think it would be the filmmaker Derek Jarman, who is no longer around. So he is like a bit of a hero for me. He actually went to my school, but like way before me.
Before you.
And he died of AIDS, and I want to think he died in the late 90s. I should know when he died, but anyway, he died of AIDS. He went blind before he died, and he lived on the Kent coast in Dungeness in this amazing house, which is still there. And he made this garden out of the sort of just basically the sea. It's actually technically a desert, the sort of sea, out of all the kind of stones and everything. He just made this incredible garden with sculpture. But his movies are so radical. So Jubilee, which was a kind of punk rock movie, and Caravaggio, and like all these amazing movies. But he was so radical, but so kind of, he was obviously really living life and having so much fun. And he kind of broke a lot of taboos. And I would just love to know what he's got to say about everything now. And I would love to know what kind of films that he would be making to describe the sort of chaos of the 21st century.
Yeah.
I think we really miss him. So yeah, I want him back, you know.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You want to have a coffee?
We want Derek Jarmans. We want more Derek Jarmans in the world. We need their sort of fight.
I love that.
And yeah.
Where are you taking him?
Well, not Rosslyn.
No,
I think that would be a
say
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where am I taking him for a coffee?
Maybe a drink.
A drink. Yeah, I think maybe we'd have to go for a cocktail.
Yeah.
God, that's a really good question. Where would I take him?
Have you got like a go-to favourite bar or something? Is there anywhere that
I think what I'd do instead actually is I think I would pre-make some cocktails. I think I would go equipped with the wherewithal to make some really nice martinis and then just say, let's go and sit on the beach.
Perfect.
And just chat and drink cocktails on the beach.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I love it. Is there one life lesson that you wish more people knew? Or a bit of advice that you want to share? Because I mean, we could talk a lot longer, but you just seem to have had such a fascinating, interesting life.
It's not that fascinating.
Honestly, it does. Like, I would love to have been around, like...
I think that is... So this is not to answer your question, but I think that What I'm trying to do with the radio show is I'm trying to hold on to the values of the 1980s counterculture, which was, we look back and the 1980s were a really tough time. There was a lot of social strife and it was hard being gay and there was violence and there was skinheads and there was like Thatcher and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the vibrancy of the counterculture means that a lot of us look back and go, the 80s were amazing.
Yeah.
They were hard, but they were amazing. And the 90s were also amazing, but they were not quite so hard. They were just a bit decadent, to be honest. The 90s, we just let rip and just drank loads of Carver. But yeah, the 80s were, but anyway. So I'm trying to hold on to all of that. But in terms of life lessons, I just want people, I wish, and this is, friends as well, to just hold on to nuance a bit more, to stop just thinking that everything has to be black and white. Everything has to be, take the whole sort of transgender thing. It's just like, and when I mean that transgender thing, it's people are losing a sense of proportion. We're talking about a really small group of people who have a pretty tough life, and yet their lives have become up for public consumption in a way that's really, and it's not to say that people don't have legitimate concerns about biological sex and all the rest of it. Of course, that stuff matters. Of course, I believe in biological sex. I know I know how biology works generally, and of course there are intersex people as well. But people's sense of proportion seems to have gone out the window. So it's just like this obsession with people's lives, and I feel like that's happening in politics a lot. Is the discourse becomes, the culture wars basically. That if we could learn to dial all of that down, and just be a bit more nuanced, and a bit more balanced in the way that we live our lives, I think things will get a lot better really quickly.
When do you feel most like yourself?
Probably when I'm listening to music.
Yeah.
If I've got my headphones on and I'm listening to a piece of music that I really love, that I'm very much me in that moment, I think. Music. And then I just also just being out in nature, and like I'm gonna really miss the one thing where I live is it's big skies, there's trees, there's not much going on in the way of sort of like people and things.
Yeah.
And then we have buzzards, these amazing buzzards, and they fly over us. They're huge.
Yeah.
And they make this noise, this kind of keening noise. And I hear it when I'm out in the garden. I could hear them. It drives Carl witless. I'm going, the buzzards. And he's like, so not interested. And I'm looking up and there's like these three birds making this noise. And I just love being out in nature, kind of not communicating, but relating to something so sort of timeless that will be there when we've all gone.
Yeah.
I kind of love that idea that nature will just recover when humanity's gone.
This is the crazy thing, isn't it? It's like in those moments, like nothing else matters. It's like calm, I imagine.
Yeah. It's kind of meaning in nothing.
And I suppose right now it's trying to find those moments.
Yeah.
More.
Totally.
It's time for the quick fire round.
Okay.
You ready?
I hope so.
First thing you do in the morning?
Feed the cats.
Feed the cats.
Feed the cats, cup of tea.
Perfect.
Yeah.
If you packed a bag right now, where are you going?
Right now?
Yeah.
Literally.
Today. You're going to pack a bag, where are you going to go to?
I'd like to go back to Marrakesh.
Marrakesh?
Yeah.
Why?
Again. Only because I've been there quite a few times and I've just been watching this quite cheesy thriller and thinking I need to go back to Marrakesh one more time before I cop it.
Love that.
Yeah.
One thing that always lifts your mood?
Music.
One habit you swear by?
Cup of tea first thing in the morning.
Oh, nice. Favourite way to spend your day off?
Art. An art show and lunch with a friend. Preferably the art show with a friend and lunch. And then if we're feeling really ambitious, another art show in the afternoon. Really? Yeah.
Nice.
Double art show.
Love that. Favourite place you visited and why?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm not amazingly well travelled, but I'm fairly well travelled. This morning I was just talking about the Azores. I went to the Azores about 5 or 6 years ago, and they are just amazing. And they have all these ocean pools around the islands, quite run down, but beautiful ocean pools where
Yeah.
you can swim in a pool with the ocean coming into the pool. And
Sounds amazing.
yeah, the Azores.
Okay.
I want to go back.
One risk that you're glad you took?
Actually, moving to my current workplace, which was like moving to a city job, which felt scary because it was not my natural sort of territory. So to move into the city was...
How long have you been there?
Just this week, done 10 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you could time travel, would you go forwards or backwards?
Backwards, I think.
To when?
So I'd really like to go back to the 18th century. Do I mean it? The late 1700s.
Okay.
I think London would be amazing, like with the white wigs and people drinking coffee in coffee houses, and it would be really stinky, I expect, because I don't think people were necessarily their hygiene, but there would be these really amazing parties with Venetian ball type parties and stuff, and they had pleasure gardens, and it would all be crazy. It would be quite dangerous. I just think I would like to be a time traveler who maybe was invisible and just to kind of move through it all. And London, just seeing what London would have been like in the 17 whatever, and knowing that the French Revolution was all going on as well would have given it a bit of an extra frisson.
I love that. Oh
yeah.
Finally, a small amount of joy you've experienced recently.
Small amount of joy. This could get a bit emotional. So I've always been one of those people, and it's like when you see little babies on trains, and they're you start smiling at them, and they start smiling back, and you're mugging for them. Do you know what I mean? You're putting faces. Yeah. I was sat on a train. I was staying over in London. It was the Central Line from Stratford, and this beautiful woman got on the train, Middle Eastern, I would say, and she had two little kids with her. One little girl who was really well behaved, and then this little baby who was really hot. So she took she had to take its coat off, and it was all like this. And then it caught my eye, and I started doing the silly pulling faces thing, and it was like really laughing and really looking at me and really smiling. And then I just got a bit emotional because I was just like, as I got off the train, I was just thinking, what world are we creating for these little babies? That sounds really trite, but nonetheless, it was a moment of joy because this baby was so... Yeah, there was so much life in this little tiny child,
so innocent,
and this little family. She was this woman. There was just something about the family. It kind of completely kicked back against all that other stuff we were talking about earlier on about all the kind of racism and all the rest of it. So yeah, babies on trains.
I love it.
Yeah,
Tim, thank you so much for coming on ChatterBeans. Where can people connect with you? Listen to your show, Captain T.
So it's called, it's Captain T's Fantastic Voyage. Fantastic Voyage is taken from a David Bowie song of the same name. And currently I am on the second Friday of each month, 10 p.m. till midnight on Totally Wired Radio, TWR. And then the show goes out on Mixcloud the next day on the Saturday. And then, I'm also kind of always banging on about it on Instagram and Facebook. I think I realized that I probably need to start creating a kind of a location online that people can engage with that's not my personal Instagram or my personal Facebook. So watch this space for that. But currently, Totally Wired Radio.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Tim, it's been an absolute pleasure, honestly. I'm glad we can make it happen. So thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I've loved it.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, why not hit that 5-star wherever you get your podcasts and hit the subscribe button so you're the first to know when the brand new episodes are released. We've also got more content over on YouTube, TikTok and Instagram at chatter.beans. Until next time, keep chatting, keep sipping, and I'll see you soon.